two of the hardest working people in Hollywood team up for this action comedy, Awkwafina and John Cena. This is directed by Paul Feig, who we know from many comedies over the last 15 years or so. Let's talk about Jackpot. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new Amazon Prime film, Jackpot. This is streaming right now. Stars John Cena and Awkwafina and Simu Liu, who, of course, teamed with Awkwafina on the Shang-Chi film for Marvel. But before we launch into the specifics of this movie, let me welcome you back to Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. If you are not one of my subscribers yet, please consider doing so down below there. Or if you are, just click that like button or comment. All that stuff, of course, helps the channel out. All right, so this just premiered on Amazon Prime. And the basic premise is we have Katie, who is played by Awkwafina, who is a struggling actress. She moves to California, where they have, in the not too distant future, 2030 is the year, they've got this lottery, and the law allows anyone with a losing ticket to murder the winner before sundown for that particular lottery issue and claim those winnings. But you can't use guns, you can't use bullets, but anything else, you can throw anything else is fair game to try and kill this person. And through a series of random sort of events, Katie is the new winner of this month's lottery, and she doesn't even know what's going on because she just moved to California, and apparently this has been going on a few years, but she doesn't watch the news, so she knew nothing about it, and it sort of goes from there. But John Cena is a sort of man for hire to protect the lottery winners. And so he kind of fends off anybody trying to kill you. And so that's kind of the basic premise of this. They talk about the reason for doing this was because of the 2026 depression. So I don't know, maybe prognosticating for a couple of years in the future. It's always weird to set something that kind of close in the future. I mean, in 6 years, this movie's going to be, sort of rendered irrelevant, I guess, because we're in the year that it is, and obviously none of that's going on. But this is kind of like, The Purge a little bit, meets, maybe a few other things. I guess Hunger Games comes to mind. But Paul Feig has given us some of the really great action comedies of the last, 10 or 15 years, including Spy with Melissa McCarthy and another McCarthy movie, The Heat, with her and Sandra Bullock. So, he's gotten that under his belt in terms of action comedies. He did the female Ghostbusters as well with, yes, Melissa McCarthy. He likes to collaborate with her. What can I say? But he also did Bridesmaids, which is not necessarily an action film, but certainly a comedy, and one of my all-time favorite movies. Paul Feig, if he's attached to something, I'm at least intrigued. Okay, this will be, maybe interesting or hopefully at least funny. This is definitely on the lower end for me of the Paul Feig filmography. And so there's a couple of reasons why. Number one, I'm not sure that the premise really makes a whole lot of sense in a few different ways. But all right, if we're accepting kind of The Purge as a premise for horror movies, all right, I guess we can accept this sort of premise. But with all of the technology now, they're updating through drone footage where this person is every few minutes. They would be dead so quickly. So all right, but then Simu Liu plays an old comrade of the John Cena character, and so the two of them kind of, even though they're at odds with each other, sort of team up to help protect the Katie character. Awkwafina, look, I am certainly tired of hearing her in animated films. I've ranted about this before. I think Kung Fu Panda 4 maybe was the latest, although she was in If as well in a minor role. But I don't know. She's been in like 7 animated films over the last year or 2 or 3. And there's other people in Hollywood, and she's got such a distinct voice. She never does anything really different with it. But her live action roles, I think, are a little more palatable. I really enjoyed this movie Quiz Lady from last year with her and Sandra Oh. That was pretty funny. That was a streaming original as well, I think, on Hulu. And she did a great dramatic film called The Farewell years ago. I thought she should have been nominated for that. I talk about that a lot. So here, look, she's fine, but she is still Awkwafina. She's still doing the same shtick she always does. And John Cena, look, I don't know that there's a script he's ever turned down, because he does some really crappy movies. He does some good movies too, and more TV shows too lately with Peacemaker. I thought that was great. But look, the two of these guys do have chemistry, but it just feels like the script just kind of isn't there. Like, it felt to me like a lot of this was kind of improvised in the moment, and they did, sort of different joke reads, and okay, well, why don't you say this, or oh, I'm gonna try this, and it wasn't really on the page. It was just kind of in the moment, and that can work with the right cast. Is John Cena and Awkwafina the right cast? Sometimes. I mean, this movie is kind of funny, and it's kind of good action as well, but none of it ever rises above like okay or average, at least for me with this, and a little surprising with Paul Feig's history of these action comedies. But look, you throw two people that are certainly talented together, it doesn't always mean that they will necessarily gel, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're good to play off of each other if there's not a great script to go along with it. And that's kind of how I felt about this movie. Certainly, John Cena, and it's unfortunate because I really like the guy. But I do seem to rail, I guess, a little bit on his streaming movies. He did those Vacation Friends movies over the last few years. I think that was Hulu as well. Look, he's got a good supporting cast and he's charismatic, but the script just wasn't there. And then earlier this year, we had Ricky Stenicki, which I think was also Amazon Prime, like this one is. And it like had its moments, it had its pockets, but it just didn't come together to me. And that's kind of how I feel about this one. I think this is probably maybe a little bit better than that movie, although I like the premise for that movie a lot better. So yeah, overall, this is just really a quite mixed bag for me. I will leave Jackpot with a C. But if you are curious, you can check it out now on the Amazon Prime. All right, thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It, and I will see you next time. Bye.